All right, these are refrigeration gauges. Now these particular gauges are for 3 types of refrigerant, and it says on here we have R404, we have R410A, and R22. There are a lot of different refrigerants that are out right now. It's important to note that when you go to buy a particular set of gauges, that those gauges are going to work for the refrigerants that you might use the most. 410 and 22 are in a lot of commercial refrigeration. So you're definitely going to use these for that. 410 is also in residential units, so you're going to use it for that. You want to make sure that you have the correct gauges, because around here they're going to have the correct numbers for pressure. And if you don't have the right gauges for the right refrigerant, you're not going to read the right pressures. And as we get into more videos, you'll find out that the pressure inside a system tells you if the system is operating where it needs to be. Now, we talked in a previous video about the evaporator side being the low side, the condenser being the high side. It's color coded on our gauges. Typically, you will hook up the blue to your low side. That's your evaporator side. Then you will hook up your red to your high side. Now these are hooked up through Schrader valves that are on your unit, which is similar to if you ever had a bicycle or on a car where you have the area, the Schrader valve where you put the air in and out. That's what you're hooking up to, okay, so that we can gain access to the system. Then we open up our gauges. It lets in refrigerant into these hoses, and it lets us know the pressure of it. The yellow hose is used for taking refrigerant out or putting refrigerant into a system. There's also other components that are used in that, and a vacuum pump for vacuuming out a system, or recharging pump, which again we will get into later. But it's important to note that we have our red as our high side, which is our condenser. We have our blue, which is our low side, which is our evaporator. We have our yellow, that is our charging hose or evacuation hose. We have our side gauges where we can turn on and let the refrigerant into these hoses so that we could read our pressures, and we want to make sure that our gauges are the correct gauges for the type of refrigerant that we're using. And anytime that you ever work with these, you want to make sure that when you're done, you purge out any refrigerant that's inside these hoses, because if you're working with 410 refrigerant, you want to get rid of that, especially if you're going to hook these up to an R22 refrigerant. A lot of HVAC techs will just use certain gauges for certain refrigerants, even if they can handle 2 more refrigerants like these ones. So they might have a set of these gauges that they use for R22 and another set that's specifically for 410.